Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on what part of the world you're watching and
Good
listening this
morning.
from. We'll get to more about our mystery voice in a moment. So, my name is Yasser Masood.
And a very good morning from literally top of the world, just crossing North Pole right about as we speak. Somewhere up in the air, the episode 2 of the Geek Nomads in the Air. I think we should rename the show for all the episodes we do in the air. So here's bringing you another episode with Super Starlink connectivity on Qatar Airways. And we look forward to bringing you an amazing guest today, a good friend, a good individual in the respective field that we're going to talk about. And we will dive right straight into it.
So, I mean, just to give you a little bit of a background. So, this is someone that well, I was not telling his name, but Khan and I actually know him. Yeah, I won't give it away. Khan and I know him for a couple of years. We actually met him. We've met each other so many times, but I most recently met him about a couple of months back in Austin. But yeah, you know what? I'm going to actually have Khan do a nice introduction with his full name as such. So, Khan, why don't you do the honors?
Definitely, like just to add on top of that also as well, 2014 I remember is the time when I met him first in Oryx Sultana in Doha. We were
A380.
discussing about A380s and an upcoming career in the Middle East in Saudi Arabia. Unfortunately, that never happened. And a very good friend that I also ran into him in Vancouver not long ago, maybe 45 days ago. And it's good to see him again. So I would like to welcome our guest for the episode today, Shashank Nigam. He's a globally sought the speaker, thought leader on airline branding, customer engagement. He's the founder and CEO of Simplifying. So if you're following a specific, online brand for knowing what's happening in the aviation industry, to know about things, Simplifying is where you need to get your hands on. And it's also one of the world's largest aviation marketing firms. Even Shashank, he's been around. He's worked with at least 70 airlines and airports in the last 6 years. His past few years, his firm, Simplifying, has pivoted to focus on sustainability. So if you haven't, we'll focus very much about this later into the episode on what Shashank does around sustainability and the airlines that is focused on their environment efforts, given the growing demand they have for travel and impact. Yes, sir.
Thanks, Khan. So, I mean, I had the opportunity of meeting Shashank in person at South by Southwest about a few months ago when it was in Austin. We continued, and now we get to continue this conversation at, well, virtually again at 36,000 feet, while Khan again is up in the air. Just a disclosure, Khan and Shashank actually met after landing after from our previous episode in Toronto.
Vancouver.
Vancouver, yeah,
Vancouver.
as such. Yeah, exactly. So now, I've had a chat with him in South by Southwest, so I'm going to put the link to our conversation about the airline stuff at that time in the description. But today, we're going to expand a bit more, and as what Khan mentioned, especially on the sustainable efforts with a focus on the MENA region in respect to the world, and seeing where like Khan is up in the air, it's an airline, so it's a perfect occasion and venue to make this conversation very worthwhile. So let's hear from our guest. Welcome to the Geeky Nomads, Mr. Shashank Nigam.
Hey,
Welcome,
Yasser.
indeed.
Hey, Khan. It's great to be speaking. And guess what? Khan is on the move, and so am I. This is my first ever podcast I'm recording while driving. So this is special in its own way.
Exactly, of course, safety and security in mind. So let's dive into the thing while he's driving. So Shashank, I'm sure you've seen the news. What's your perception with the recent Boeing aircraft orders with Qatar and UAE?
I'm not surprised, to be honest. Middle East has been a fast-growing region. The airlines in the Middle East and in the region have always focused on a young fleet. So if you want to focus on a young fleet, you need new planes to replace as well as grow. And I think that's critical. Yeah, they are high growth regions, and airlines expect to have young fleets. That means replacement and growth coming from new aircraft. And I'm not surprised with the hundreds of planes being ordered by UAE and Qatar, and not too long ago, Saudi as well.
Yeah, the Dreamliner. Going into especially Dreamliner, especially in the Saudi side, you've recently seen that Riyadh Air has just unveiled their hard product. Their and including their Business Elite, which is I think like their bridge to first class, but only
Yep.
4 of them in the front row. What's your reaction to that? Given I know Qatar is not even trying to bring first back into the skies.
You know, technology. This is what we love about it. You can always be prepared for it, but there is always be something in the middle.
A few moments later.
And he's back.
Welcome. I'm back. Can you hear me?
Oh,
I can
perfectly
hear you
fine.
and we can see you.
No, I still can't hear you. Hold on.
Okay, now we lost your video.
Wait a second.
Well, it's a nice thing, 2 people on the move, one at 36,000 feet, another one at probably 60 miles per hour on the
Nice,
ground.
Khan. Rub it in. It looks good.
No,
जला जला के खाओ, अच्छे से खाओ. मैं यहाँ पे सेब खा रहा हूँ.
the
I bet you won't get that on Qatar Airways. A fresh Royal Gala apple.
I'm sure we have an
Well,
apple somewhere in the back. The cruise
So-
was so nice. We have new flavors of Hunters,
Well, I'm
Rogers
going to
chips.
rejoin the studio.
that are-
I'm going to even
that are-
rejoin the studio. I don't know why the audio is not working.
What, new chips?
But like they have these new Hunters, Rogers, ridges on board the flights, and they have so many flavors. And the cruise was so nice. They're like, "Mr. Khan, why don't you try this? Why don't you try this?" So I tried white truffle. I
Okay.
tried sea salt.
Okay.
I tried sea salt with black pepper, crushed black pepper. And now I'm trying hot and sweet.
Sounds like tamarind and chili.
Yeah, and then there's one beetroot also. So I've tried snacked on everything on the flight.
They're basically plumping you up, spoiling your taste buds.
And this hot and sweet are amazing.
Oh, they taste good. I'm guessing with your taste buds up in the air.
That's another thing. People don't really understand. When they look at the meals, they're like, "Oh, this doesn't look appealing." But when you eat it, it is designed and made for you to consume at the flight level at such high that you not have any taste or taste flavorings in a way.
It's working now.
Oh, welcome back.
Perfect. Welcome back.
Yep. I think this is better. There you go. I can hear you guys, and we're good.
Now we just lost video.
Oh, hold on. It's coming back. That was just I touched something wrong. There you go. We
Perfect.
should be good. I'm not on Do Not Disturb. And that one phone call just, changed everything.
Okay, so Riyadh Air unveiled their hard product, including their premium and their business elite, which is only in the first 4 rows. What's your reaction to it?
I think it's a very smart product strategy. They are able to upsell to those who might have wanted to buy first without necessarily introducing a hard first product yet. They are able to upsell to business customers, so business class customers. They are able to try this product out and actually make very good use of the space up front, right? It's just business studio is the first row. And guess what? They're not taking a huge risk, not just in terms of customers, but the product value prop as well. Because guess what? Virgin Atlantic has already done this and has been quite successful. At the same time, we have seen JetBlue do this with their Mint suites as well. And I think they're on the right track. This can be a precursor to Riyadh Air potentially introducing a first class in the future.
Going back and now let's shifting a little bit into the connectivity aspect. Like, Khan's actually on a QR flight with Starlink. There's been speculation now, even Emirates is exploring the option to add Starlink into their fleet. Yet, Viasat, which is another competitor, has been embraced by a few others, including Riyadh Air. So is it now become a battle of connectivity as a perk to entice travelers? Since Wi-Fi in the air is now becoming you fly, you have free Wi-Fi connectivity rather than paying for it.
Well, Khan, you tell me how are you feeling it?
I'm
You're
loving it.
you're
Like,
doing podcast live.
So this is literally live recording. So last time I got so many questions like, "Oh no, you might have recorded on board, then shared it, then stitched the video together." No. So Yasser is the host of this podcast. He's receiving the video from me, which is being recorded at my station, from yourself and from Yasser, and then clubbed together. And this is all happening due to Starlink. I just checked the speed limit. We are literally just crossing North Pole about now, and I have a download speed of about 220 Mbps. and upload speed about 78 Mbps. What more can you ask for? And overall, on top of that, it's free, completely free. I watched the 2 practice sessions of the Monaco Grand Prix, usually a Formula One fan, live. I don't have to worry about missing out on any action. Like, and this is lovely. Just to, I think this is something I think shamelessly promoting my lovely company. We have something new. We're promoting live sports.
Shameless plug.
Live sports. I'm like, it's amazing. Like Emirates has something. They have done this with, like, in future with live streaming of sports, and now with streaming available, connectivity available. Why not? I don't think we'll be far away where we can offer Formula One streaming to all our passengers on board the aircraft. And this is where the brands need to come together. Like, you sponsor something, you have something else. Let's just talk to each other. And at the end of the day, this is not just MENA region. I believe kind of sets the footprint for everyone to follow, either it be Emirates, Qatar Airways, Saudi, Riyadh Air, Etihad, to an extent where all the other carriers, or even Singapore to an extent, carriers want to follow them and be like, hey, maybe not copy exactly what they're doing, but kind of follow the footsteps too, because they have a blueprint in front of them. All they need to do is input their items as they like, and then boom, you have something that works for you.
Absolutely correct. I think, Khan, you may remember 20 years ago, AirTran in the US became the world's first airline to have Wi-Fi. I remember entering aviation at that time thinking, wow, the last place where you did not have Wi-Fi, you're going to have Wi-Fi. But of course, it was really bad go-go Wi-Fi at that time. And since then, we've gone through leaps and bounds in technology. And here we are. But there were a few other big shifts. It was airplanes with really bad Wi-Fi or airplanes with no Wi-Fi. Then about 15 years ago, I remember there being a paradigm. I remember giving a speech at the CETA annual summit in Belgium, where I talked about the concept of free Fi versus fee Fi. So you either charge for Wi-Fi or you make it free.
Okay, fine.
And that was a huge debate because I think Mango Airlines in South Africa became the world's first airline to offer free Wi-Fi. Sponsored by Vodafone, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah,
Vodacom, they called it.
It was Vodacom.
Yeah, see, I knew it, Vodacom.
You got it. So I think we've come a long way to where we are right now. Khan, you're saying, you can stream live F1. That is amazing. The only time I've experienced speeds like this, I have to admit, I've not been on QR since you introduced Starlink. The fastest Wi-Fi I've experienced in the sky was on JetBlue. Over land in the US, not somewhere over North Pole, for example. And it was mind-boggling. It was life-changing. Like, really? There is no difference between flight and ground? That it takes some getting used to. But once you get used to it, there's no going back. I think, to your point originally, Yasser and Khan, yes, it is absolutely a differentiator from a product experience perspective, as much as that door behind you is, Khan. Just because you have that door, you can privately record this podcast, right? Peeping in. And similarly, once people get used to Starlink level Wi-Fi, oops, I think there's no going back. So I'm not surprised if Emirates is exploring it, or definitely pushing their Viasat providers to go further, or Panasonic to go further. It's a business that's Panasonic's and Viasat's to lose.
Indeed, that's something that they now have to upscale their business ideas on how they can stay reliant and relevant in the market. And it's not just connectivity for us, right? Now it's as simple as just connecting to Oryx Communications Wi-Fi network, Oryx Comms, and my Wi-Fi is set to reconnect to a known network automatically. I don't even, when I step on a Starlink aircraft, I don't even have to worry about connecting to a network. My phone is automatically connected. So if I am if I
had a sign at the entrance of my door in Toronto when we used to live there, which said, when you're home, when your Wi-Fi automatically connects. So maybe we should have it on Qatar Airways now.
I think technically I'm gonna start putting a sticker. I'm home on the net podcast.
Home is where the Wi-Fi is.
Home is where the Wi-Fi is.
No, so this used to be home is where the wife is. Now it's about home is where the Wi-Fi is, not the wife is, huh? Guys.
The connectivity matters. This is one great thing. I have recently again Qatar Airways did a tournament for gaming where people played games on board the aircraft. A tournament where in a business club we had 12 people. Even then, I remember very well when I initially did the LinkedIn post about Starlink and connectivity. I had a lot of people who reached out to me like, okay, you're saying you're connected to the network. Maybe you're the first one hop on the network and you're making the best use of the bandwidth. Let's wait until everyone on the aircraft is able to use it. I'm like, everyone on the aircraft is able to use it at the same time. So there is not really an issue of who is able to, who is not able to. But still, you get a side alternative of like, is it really necessary? Is this connectivity to be connected to your devices all the time really required in, or like everyone thinks you're on a plane, let's say Q Suites or any business class, you want to lie down, have your dinner, get an app before your next flight. But the generation is so much that you actually want to stay connected than be disconnected from everyone else.
Guys,
Alright.
I fully agree, because I think connectivity is ubiquitous now, except for when flying, and it's the last rail. So it's great to see Starlink coming and bridge this gap.
All right, Khan. Now it's your turn.
Just staying on the topic of technology, Middle East, and everything. So majority of the MENA airlines, which we will have Qatar Airways and Emirates are at the forefront of it, and they're adopting AI for passenger experience. This is something that has, for me, when you say AI, I feel everyone just uses it as a bumper sticker. Just put it on there, like, okay, yeah, we
Like
are AI
sustainability.
compatible. Yeah, to an extent, yes, which we will talk about in later in the episode. But like, how well do you think this should be highly personalized? Like, do you think AI-driven interactions potentially, like even with holograms, how we have some Emirates has their own version in their offices in Dubai. How well do you think this will increase loyalty and or even privacy implications and navigate a better customer experience?
Yeah, I think very good question, Khan. I'm currently at MIT these days and actually doing a course on AI as a mentor, guiding AI teams through how to apply AI to aviation. And it's cutting edge stuff that I'm seeing. And I have to admit that right now we are just at the beginner level when it comes to, we are the kindergarten level when it comes to AI in customer experience. Sama is an effort worth applauding at Qatar Airways for taking the leap, but I don't think I will go switch to an airline because they have a hologram. It's just like when about 10 years ago, Virgin Atlantic introduced the Google Glass. It was a nice enhanced experience, but nobody really switched, right? And they stopped the experiment, I think, after 2 years or so. Now, it shows Qatar Airways is on the ball. It's cutting edge. Yet, I think the biggest benefits on customer experience for AI are not going to be front-facing or passenger-facing around conversion, but back-end facing. So think like a simple use case. If one of our flights gets canceled today, how long does it take for the airline to issue us a refund? If you're lucky, 2 weeks. If you're unlucky, good luck. Right? Getting your money back. Now, why does it take 2 weeks? Let's just drill down into this use case. Currently, let's pick an airline. Yasser, name me an airline that's not Qatar Airways.
American.
That may be bad at history, but American, thank you. So American Airlines, headquartered in Dallas, let's say your flight is canceled out of New York to DC. You seek a refund. Now, somebody from the New York office has to confirm that this aircraft was indeed delayed or canceled. So check the departure logs. Then that person needs to coordinate with someone in Chicago or in Dallas to say, all right, this is a legitimate request. That then goes to the back office in the Philippines, where there's a refund processing office. And that guy says, yes, boss, in Dallas, everything is fine. And finally, when all of this is done, they make you a lowball offer, which you then reject. And then it goes back to them, no, this customer is executive platinum. He needs a better offer. And his flight was delayed. Like all of this stuff, the bad news is the customer is not happy. The airline is not happy because they have to give money back. It's a lose-lose. And it took 2 weeks anyway. But the good news is that all of these processes, as you guys know, within the airline world are very well defined. The guy in the Philippines knows here are the 10 steps to follow. The guy in Dallas knows here are the 10 steps to follow. And they're just coordinating it. The coordination by humans takes long. Bring in AI. AI can just go through the same steps instantly and issue you an instant refund that is a lower amount, or a higher refund in 2 weeks, which will require humans, of a higher amount. And then it's your call. You choose. You're happy. You're in control. So I actually believe that there will be very good use cases in improving customer experience that are not necessarily front facing, but back end. And it will put the power, AI will put the power in the customer's hand. Simple things like, hey, listen, your flight's delayed. Which of the flights do you want to go on to? And AI will present to you the options. You don't need to get on a call center. Some airlines are already doing it. AI can automate this and make this faster. So I think, yes, customer experience will be improved through AI, but what we are seeing are baby steps right now.
Very much agree. I'm just going to give you two examples on that. I was recently a month ago at an AI conference with Salesforce, and they presented a case study that they use with Cebu Pacific. So for every flight, they have a connectivity channels that they talk on between ground services, crew, deck crew, technical, everyone. So they can get all their inputs in right away to understand anything that has to happen with the flight. Let's say catering gone wrong, technical, seat issues, customer complaints. So when anything as such happens, they are able to resolve it right away. And the second good experience I've had so far, honestly, where I feel the country might not be so forward, but the airline is literally given all the red tape possible around it. Air Canada. I've had multiple instances with Air Canada with delayed flight or delayed baggage and everything. Nothing has exceeded over 24 hours before they were able to resolve it. They were like, especially when I had a continuous 3 flights that were cancelled in a day. I was supposed to fly at 12 p.m. I flew out around 6 p.m. 4 cancelled flights. I did not have to talk to an individual from Air Canada to know what I should do next. My app was updated with my next flight updates, the next gate. I received my vouchers for food, and it even gave me options of restaurants that I can go use the voucher at with
Wow.
guided maps on the map of the Toronto airport, so I know where I'm walking and I'm walking to the right restaurant to get stuff. And I think this is where it's really game changing for either depending on how much traffic you carry as an airline or how much experience you want to offer your passengers.
No, I have to admit that my 3 favorite apps in the world from an airline perspective are Air Canada, United, and EasyJet. They're up there when it comes to passenger notifications. In your case, IROPS, I'm very impressed. I've never had an Air Canada flight cancel, delayed, yes, and they're very good with notification. But cancellation with vouchers, this is fantastic because I know these are very standard processes and airlines have struggled with this in the past. So great to see Air Canada doing the right job. And a side caveat, by the way, pre-pandemic, there was a team doing digital strategy at United that pretty much brought the entire team over to Air Canada to lead this, and they were called the Reunited folks. So
Play of words.
And they're still there. So they've redone Aeroplan, they've redone the Air Canada app, and absolutely one of the 3 best airline apps in the world.
Honestly, like every time I'm using it every 3 months nowadays, I look forward to using it. Like I want to find out what else does the app do. Even in delayed flights, when the aircraft pushes back, I have no idea how they have this connectivity from ground to IOC to deck. Literally, when the aircraft is pushing back, the app notifies you are on your way. That is next level configuration.
Amazing. That's absolutely amazing.
Yeah. With that on the topic, travel now more on ground. Majority of the airports, I think, starting with DXB and kind of Riyadh, also focusing into now an HIA as well with the new Delta and Echo gates terminals that they have launched. Everyone is focusing on a fully touchless, a walkthrough experience. This, as we call it, smart airports. Where do you think, and where would be the biggest operational shift and the benefits that we can experience due to widespread biometric integration and also potential privacy concerns that many do have around it?
Yeah, I think, again, not my core area of expertise, so I can speak to it from a passenger perspective and user perspective. I've seen many gates, let's say in Boston Logan Airport, which has been my home airport over the last year, use biometrics. And there's a clear disclaimer that you're being identified right now and your records will be deleted your flight the moment the flight is taking off. So I know as a passenger, it's just to ease things. So I've not required my boarding pass to board the plane for the last 6-7 months or so. I just walk in front of a device that looks at my eye and I board, or looks at my face and I board. I believe Singapore has set the holy grail for what the arrival experience should be like, where you can keep your passport in your pocket and just walk. It's like just walk out technology like Amazon did 10 years ago in supermarkets.
Yeah.
Singapore
Amazon Go.
at the airport. Amazon Go, there you got it. So I think we are getting closer and closer. Recently, ICAO, the UN governing body for aviation, announced that they intend to completely rehaul the boarding process such that you will not require anything. You won't need to check in, which is a thing from the 70s. That's why we need to check in today. You can just walk into the airport and your status automatically changes to checked in, and you can go ahead and board your flight. You don't need to stop at a check-in counter. You just go through security and you're through. I think there are big changes coming in the next 5 years. The airport experience is where I'm hoping to see the most amount of improvements.
Very much. Yes, sir. You want to take over?
Okay, so I'm gonna put this into. I'm gonna see if I can try to merge this in, because I think there are two questions onto it, especially when it comes to the Middle East. One is, you know how Abu Dhabi has the pre-clearance facility for US bound travelers. Do you think having something like that is advantageous? I mean, since it's the only one in the Middle East, given that a lot of the focus has been only on 3 airlines, and now 4th one is potentially Riyadh Air. You've seen the other airlines, Gulf Air, Oman Air, and Kuwait Airways. They've been very silent and they don't grab any headlines as such. I feel like they've just been sidelined. So do you think they'll still be relevant, or they're just waiting for the right moment just to go and make their big splash?
So I think they are very, very different airlines, right? You've got the Emirates and the Qatar and Riyadh and Saudi with the big ambitions. Whereas if you look at Oman Air, I think they come with a very different mission altogether in the last 1 year or so. Concor Fiates, their new CEO, has done a phenomenal job of restructuring the airline, refocusing on routes that actually make money and not just have a flashy first class, for example, right? So I believe they're doing away with a lot of the bling that was there. So, different horses for different courses.
That sounds about right summed up.
And when we're talking especially about that, like with that, going back to Abu Dhabi having the pre-clearance facility for US, is that something that's more advantageous for an airline to potentially explore to support their commercial?
I think it was definitely a differentiator for Etihad Airways, which is the only airline from the region doing non-stop flights from Abu Dhabi. So if you want to differentiate against a hub like Dubai, Abu Dhabi having a pre-clearance definitely is a differentiator. I know Etihad lands on domestic in a lot of the airports like New York and Boston, and that saves people a good couple of hours sometimes. Imagine landing behind a Emirates A380 with 500 passengers clearing immigration. By the way, in the US, not everyone uses e-gates as well, so everyone's just queuing up, right? So I think it definitely improves the passenger experience. And back when they did it, it was clearly a differentiator, though there are now better differentiators of passenger experience, like free starting Wi-Fi on Qatar.
Yeah,
So I
go
just
ahead.
want to give an example on that pre-clearance and landing in US airports and domestic. Try landing in Dallas with Turkish, Singapore, Qatar, Emirates arriving at the same time. Never ever.
Really? Really? Is it that bad?
Yeah, I was at Dallas and in New York, even New York, because now
New York, I imagine.
The interesting thing, guys, is about 10 years ago, I used to carry a big book to read at Heathrow and at Newark and JFK, because I knew I would be in customs and immigration for about 2 hours, and I'd go through half the book in that time. Today, London Heathrow is about 2 minutes with e-gates. New York and Newark, it's still the same. I still need a book. Nothing's changed.
I agree. And this is where, when you talk about investments and public investments or government investments happening, now Heathrow clearing for a 3rd runway, that looking at more slots as definitely more fleet, more aircraft coming in. How do you overcome that?
I think you have to think about your banks, traditional network planning. Think through your afternoon bank, morning bank, and other banks, and see how you can spread out the traffic better.
And that would be the only way to make it work at anywhere in the
Or
world.
here is my creative solution. If there's a new runway coming up, make sure that the runway is restricted to only electric planes or planes carrying SAF. And now you have green operations, and you keep the big guzzlers to one runway, right?
True, and you make everyone's life easier in every way possible.
Exactly.
I'm gonna shift out to one, and then I'll give it over to Khan. So when we were talking about runways and airports. So you just saw that Changi announced a new terminal expansion, and as Khan mentioned, HI opened up concourses DNE. If I feel that right now the skies are populated with so many airlines, as such, that I think now the strategy has shifted towards the airports or the hubs becoming the enticing factor for getting travelers to come there. What's your perspective on that?
So I think when it comes to airports, it's very important to remember that airports are very different from airlines. Airlines are very global, and large and small airlines carry significant traffic around the world. Whereas when it comes to airports, about 20 or maybe 30 of the top global airports, 30 top global airports carry about 50% of all global traffic. So that means there's a very long tail of airports. The top 30 airports need to expand and need to grow.
The availability for everyone is quite open. Yeah,
exactly.
Indeed.
Exactly. So seeing growth. Yeah, exactly. Go ahead.
No, Shashank, you have finished your thought.
No, so I'm saying, Changi Airport expanding and introducing a Terminal 5. Guess what? Singapore Airlines is going to move there, and that will be the primary airline there, anchor airline there. So that's what we're looking at.
Yeah, that's what we're looking at. They won the best airport this year. They will be aiming for it for years in the future as well. Now let's, so we introduced Shashank to you as, a guy who's in the aviation consulting and everything, but I'm not sure if many of our listeners know, Shashank is also an author or a co-author, or have authored books, 3 books in total, with a recent volume 2 of one of his books coming out. So he's got SOAR, which was his first one. He's got Sustainability in the Air, The Greener Future, if I'm not mistaken, the first title, and he's got Sustainability in the Air, volume 2, which just came out last week. How do you find time to write these books, Shashank?
Long flights without Wi-Fi. See, Khan, if you have a long flight with Wi-Fi, you end up doing a podcast recording like we're doing now, or you end up, I was on a long haul flight recently from London, and the lady next to me was texting throughout the flight. And I was like, wow, 9 hours, and you're just constantly texting and WhatsApping. So long flights without Wi-Fi definitely help, but there are 2 things. How I make it happen is, well, as you mentioned, I have a very good co-author now, Dirk Singer, who's Simplifying's head of research, as well as my director of sustainability. He's deeply passionate, like me, about aviation and the future of aviation as well. So that's how I make it happen. Why I make it happen is, all 3 of us met in 2014 in Doha. I think it was the week of Yasser's wedding, if I'm not wrong, when I first met him. And
somewhere around there.
Yeah.
The thing is, we, as well as people we interact with, I feel often talk in an echo chamber. We talk about the same things. There's the same circus doing the rounds. But it is so important to bring the voice of aviation to beyond the rooms that we hang out in. From the innovations that are happening, to how aviation is such a critical part of the global economy, to the well-being, to how we are pushing technology and sustainability for the future. A book will be found in a public library in a small town 20 years from now, and it will be read by a kid. And that's why I'm writing the book, because I believe it is important to share why we are so fascinated with the magic of flying and what we are doing to preserve the magic of flight for future generations in a small little library, in a small little town that I've never heard of.
And that's a lovely mindset, because you're not just thinking about what to do right now, how you can have quick fixes or hot fixes, as I say, but something down the line, or to even empower people of the next generation, because it's too challenging to adapt to certain things, because everyone is given something that wows things like, okay, yeah, this is again AI bumper sticker, sustainability a bumper sticker, but how deep we go in and how far we carry the conversation makes really a difference in many ways. Now that we talk about
Yeah, and
how and why you want to do it, no, go ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead,
No,
ask
I was just
question.
going to say, why sustainability and why sustainability in aviation?
So, Khan, I remember my first flight. It was from New Delhi to Singapore in 1994 on an old Illusion, Aeroflot Illusion 96. And I remember sitting wide-eyed, starry-eyed, staring out of the plane window, January 30th, 1994 to be specific, and staring out of the window the entire flight. Here's the catch. It was a night flight. I still stared out of the window the entire flight. And that was, I never forget that feeling. The interesting thing is, when my daughter took her first flight, Sana was looking out of the window the entire flight, and it reminded me of my first flight. And I truly believe flying is magical. That is the reason I'm in this industry. And I want to preserve the magic of flying for the future generations, for my daughters, their kids, and their kids' generations. But the challenge is that aviation is polluting. Khan, you're in a Q suite right now. It's a pretty heavy cabin that you're in, and that burns fuel. Today, if you get down when you land, Khan, you can book a Uber Green and a Tesla will pull up, or a Toyota Prius at least will pull up. If I try to book a green flight today, I cannot do that. There is no electric plane. There is no hydrogen plane. There is no green flight. And I truly believe that because aviation is polluting and aviation is growing, it is important and it is our responsibility as industry leaders to ensure that we can preserve the future of aviation. To do that, we have to make sure that the flying becomes sustainable. Flying becomes greener than it is today in an increasingly greater manner. Because here is a statistic we share in the latest book. Eric and I did a lot of research and we found out that today aviation's emissions are about 3% globally of total CO2 emissions from humankind. If we continue growing and other industries are decarbonizing faster, remember I told you about the Uber Green and the Tesla? Aviation's emissions by 2050 are set to rise to 25% of global emissions. And when you are a quarter of humanity's emissions, that's a very tough conversation to have. That's why we need to start today.
True. And this is where, again, I believe, taking the conversation further makes a difference. And if you go back 50 years in the history, we had Concorde, we had gone to the moon and everything. Suddenly, when it comes to for the betterment of everything else, sustainability has become expensive. And so goes with SAF, like the sustainable aviation fuel. Everyone wants to have I think the last thing I read was UAE aims to produce somewhere around 700 million liters of SAF by 2030. There is also working trying to find the service providers through Sky Energy. Currently, it's just a drop in the ocean of how much SAF is currently available. Why do you think any of the industries or even the aviation industry itself are not working towards putting more money into research or development and find a better solution for it?
Here's a simple answer. Profit margins of the airline industry is 2 to 5% in a good year. It costs about $800 million to $1 billion to put up one SAF plant. So you see there's a big difference there. Airline industry is not profitable enough to fund SAF by itself. That's where in our new book we conclude that the greatest innovation that is going to come is not technological innovation. It is going to be financial and capital innovation. How do you fund SAF? People know what is SAF. We know how to make SAF. How do you make it fast enough and at a scale enough that has an impact? This is where the first chapter we actually open up with is a very interesting capital innovation case study, where we're talking about Alaska Airlines, which is headquartered surprisingly in Seattle, not in Alaska, as well as 12, which is a e-fuels provider, SAF provider, and Microsoft. So here's how it goes. 12, the SAF provider, wants to make a lot of e-fuel, which is using power to liquid. So you don't really use feedstock like crops or grains. You just use electricity to make the SAF. Very advanced, but also very expensive. The largest airline in that state, Washington State, is Alaska Airlines. So they said, okay, Alaska Airlines, will you buy this SAF? I was like, well, how much is it? As the airlines will ask, right? And let's say they say, oh, it's, 10x the cost of jet fuel. And Alaska is like, who in the right mind is going to pay so much? 10x. Seriously? Are you out of my mind? Who would pay that? That's when the conversation veered towards, okay, so who flies Alaska the most and who pays the most for tickets? Turns out it's not individual travelers only, it's corporates like Microsoft, Amazon, who are based in Seattle, which is where Alaska's hub is. So guess what? Alaska in 12 approached Microsoft to say, hey, Microsoft, you fly a lot, and a lot of your employees are flying Alaska Airlines. How would you like to buy SAF and reduce the price that Alaska Airlines pays? This is where you break down the three scopes of sustainability: Scope 1, Scope 2, and Scope 3. Scope 1 is, Alaska Airlines flying itself, and Scope 3 is Microsoft employees flying on Alaska Airlines. Hopefully that's not too confusing. So in the end, here's how the capital innovation works. Microsoft chips in to reduce the price, the green premium that Alaska Airlines has to pay, to 12. In the end, 12, because now they have Microsoft and Alaska Airlines buying the SAF, is able to offer a bulk discount. And using this commitment, they're able to raise financing to build their big plant in Moses Lake, Washington State, where it creates employment. Now you see the full three things coming together, and the whole conversation is moot. Who pays for SAF? Hey, guess what? The corporate can chip in. Scope 3 deals are critical, and financial innovation is going to lead to scaling of SAF.
I want to just interject in, like when you mentioned about the whole profit margin of like sort of 2 to 5% and everything. So you've recently seen that Emirates and Qatar and Singapore have just declared their big profits, and then news of how much bonuses they're sort of paying out.
Yeah. Are you
do you
regretting
think
not
it's just
picking
all?
Qatar Airways right now, Yasir?
Man, I got my bonus last year and everything. I'm sure Khan will get to talk about it once they declare. But going back into that, do you
Yes.
think it's all just when smoke and mirrors, especially because, like you said, it's a very capital-intensive industry, and then you juggle with sustainability investments into that?
I don't think it's smoke and mirrors, Yasir. I think the profit is real, and it's great to see them sharing this profit with their employees as well. That's how it should be done. I'm just saying it is not consistent. I believe the top 30 airlines in the world probably make 90% of the global profit for airlines. Do you think Kuwait Airways will declare such a profit ever? Do you think a small airline in Africa is going to declare this profit? Do you think Boliviana from Bolivia is going to declare this profit? So overall, as an industry, we are still looking at 2 to 5%. And that's because it is being padded very nicely by the likes of Emirates, Qatar, and Singapore, who are doing things right. And also in the US, like Delta and United.
Yeah, true. And it goes, I think, a far extent of that, of where towards being an established brand, you want to make a difference, or you want to be the leader and be like, hey, okay, what we're doing may not be the right thing. We always want to open ourselves, we want to learn something. And this is where opportunity, where I find Lufthansa, where I've seen Lufthansa Technik, or the services they provide, especially with for example, Lido. It's an airline where they're servicing app which many airlines use, which Lufthansa created. And they just invited like-minded individuals across the globe, like, hey, if you have an idea, come, we'll support you, we'll invest in you. And you build something, and then everyone benefits from it. And I think this is what the aviation industry needs in terms of sustainability. Like, hey, okay, we are gonna fund your idea. We're gonna, if you have a startup that can talk about a bit of sustainability, that will bring a 1%, 2% turnaround to an airline's revenue or its profits, or its any benefit it will have, and they should do it. And I think, for me, yes, I would fight for it at my place of work, but I would also use this forum to encourage other airlines or other aviation like-minded individuals to be like, okay, we need to make space for these things to happen.
Absolutely. And I think That's where airlines in the Middle East can serve as a petri dish or as a catalyst, given their focus on customer experience, given their focus on innovation. I think the region can lead by experimenting and showcasing to the rest of the world what can be done.
And we can go as far as we wish for. Even Mars is not too far away now.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, sir. Would you want to add something?
I mean, it's so true. I mean, we're talking sort of about that sustainability as such. I mean, I think I'll come back around that. In the past 18 months, probably I think leading up to writing your book and everything, what's been your perspective across the entire industry, worldwide and plus in the MENA region, on the sustainable aviation landscape?
Good question, Yasser. That's one of the reasons we released the second volume so quickly, because we believe things are changing very fast. A few things have happened. We have seen the rise of certain technologies and the fall of others. So 2 years ago, when the first book came out, hydrogen looked very promising. But since then, we have had universal hydrogen go bust. We have had Airbus retract its hydrogen goals and push them by 10 years. And so, whereas at the same time, we have seen innovations like carbon dioxide removal, CDR, taking hold amongst airlines. So when British Airways looks at its emissions, it's looking at a portfolio of emissions. So it's ordering SAF, it's ordering CDR, and it's combining these certificates to tackle its carbon emissions. It's not just one or the other. We saw capital innovation. I shared with you earlier, Alaska 12 and Microsoft. We have seen new technologies come to fore. And most importantly, we have seen government policy lead to very strong action. So the largest airlines buying SAF in the world are currently IAG, the parent airline of British Airways Group. Lufthansa is not among the top few, but Air France KLM is. And surprise, surprise, DHL is the third highest in the world, currently buying SAF. Not only that, if you dig a little further, which we do in the book in quite a lot of depth, we realize that government policy is driving this change, and the mandates in the EU are driving uplift, as well as the Singapore mandate, for example, is definitely helping.
No, knowledge is power at the end of the day, and every discussion we have is an encouraging step towards a fruitful solution, in my opinion, at least.
Absolutely.
Kind words somewhere in the air.
Khan, you want to take over? I know I think you've got a few questions on the sustainability side.
Because I'm very much on this topic for the last few years, and I want to say thanks to Shashank, who's signed a book for me that I have to go pick up from Yasser, and I have to make.
I'll mail it to you.
No, I'm gonna make it I'm gonna use it as an excuse to come visit you. So keep it with you. That's an excuse, and then I'll make an excuse to see Shashank again, so I can.
For my book, you're gonna land
the second
in
book,
Dallas.
which
I'm so
we have lost
incredibly
right
honored.
now. I think this could have
Despite the
been
immigration
his
challenges.
phone memory full after. Oh no, he's back. The memory is good.
Or overheated.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
Oh,
I
we can't hear you.
We can
now
we
we
can
can
hear
hear
you
you.
now.
Yeah, okay. No, all good.
I think I will have a couple questions before we can bring this to an end. Rapid growth. Everything that we discussed so far, we've been seeing potentials across everywhere. Every region presents a unique challenge for sustainability. Because we focus on MENA, so we'll kind of talk about how do you feel like the airlines are balancing their growth in terms of environmental commitments. Lately, you can see airlines trying to, I don't want to say advertise, but be more vocal or be more current about the partnerships they make, how sustainable are towards the partnerships, working with people who are sustainable. For example, Coldplay, who always say their
Yes.
concerts are purely sustainable across the world, and brands want to connect with them. And same thing goes with aircraft manufacturers. The aircrafts being manufactured currently over the past 20 years have become more sustainable. So lesser fuel burn, better connectivity, better for customer experience, better feel for passengers as well on board the flights. And the same goes for, I'm not sure if you see, like when you look on Google Flights, you can actually see it tells you how much carbon you're burning. And every or majority of the airlines offer you carbon offset, like pay a certain fee and that offsets your carbon footprint. Do you think this is something which we are leading towards an achievable goal in sustainability? Yeah, that's a challenge. Yeah. Just
Wait, is this the moment? Yes, is Shashank going to finally have a stable connection? I have a feeling it's his data connection which is breaking off.
I feel so.
Yeah.
But I think we can wait. That's no problem. We can cut it out.
Yeah, exactly. We can easily cut it out while it's still recording as such. And
Does it show you that he is in or out?
no, he was in, but nothing, and then suddenly out. So I was like, funny thing is, we last time it was you who had this issue, but now you're not having this issue, and you're up in
No.
the air.
No, this was with Andy. Like I think it was like for a few seconds. I lost my connectivity with a service provider in Qatar that I'm not going to name.
Exactly. Yeah, the one who shall not be named, but you can guess. This is only two of them. But you're up in the air, and we've not had a single piece of interruption from. He's drinking his sparkling water, San Pellegrino, by the way. I could hear clanging of what you would call it, cutlery and everything. So I was like, huh, how many more hours left to your flight?
I'm looking at my screen. I think we are still just crossing. We finished the oceanic crossing. I think we're just heading towards northern Canada. I think we're approaching Nova Scotia. I want to call it. Yes, Nova Scotia.
Nova
We are just
Scotia, I think,
approaching
is on the eastern side.
on the eastern side of the Northern American continent.
Okay. My geography is still good.
We are approaching Nova Scotia. Then I think we'll have another 3.5 hours, 4 hours. Enough time for me to have my lunch that I have reserved. My lobster tail soup, Arabic meze, I'm going to eat a lot.
Of course, man. You have like what, 4 hours left?
Yeah. And the crew has been lovely. Like, sir, we saved everything for you. I'm like, okay, thank you.
They want you to try everything on the menu until you're satisfied.
We didn't. I think it was because the time zones. When I was flying back, it was a bit didn't work for us. I would have loved to record a session that time because even I think I had an awesome crew that I have never had ever in my life. They knew it was my birthday a day ago. How? I don't know. And they celebrated my birthday. They made an amazing plate and like they put dry ice in cold water, so it's like smoke in the whole. Yeah.
Smoldering, a basic smoldering sort of dreamy effect.
Yeah. And this is customer experience. I think at that point they didn't knew that I was staff, but it's still even if they did, like they went above and beyond to do what they should be doing. So I'm really thankful for an amazing workplace that we have, and that gives us the benefits of what it does. You want to message Shashank and see if his.
I just told him, it's like, okay, I think he's, unless his phone is also overheated and everything. Well, this is what happens with data. I bet if you did this on the road back in Doha, you wouldn't have faced this kind of connectivity. It's like, 5G everywhere. It's like blanket the entire country.
5G would have been fine, but my phone would have drained battery. Like, I
Yeah.
just switched service providers to a different service provider now because the device is always looking for the best 5G network. It eats up my battery like crazy. And when I come to US and Canada, I'm still connected to 5G or 4G to an extent. My battery lasts the whole day, and I'm like, what's wrong with the phone?
I think it's because the phone and the antenna placement plays ping pong. It's like, oh, you're closer to this antenna. Okay, here. No, you're closer to this antenna. It's like, thing, connect here. So I think it's just it's the way probably how they position the antenna and for coverage and everything. That's probably why, if it constantly switches, it's trying to bolster power so that you get the best reception. So that's probably why it's eating up your battery when it's doing that. But at least here in more other places, at least they know strategically how to spread out the positioning.
And I remember I had actually called both the service providers to my home to boost the antenna network or the tower network in the area, so it have a better receipt at home, at least, because I have like 2 towers of both the service providers like in my vision of where I live, and I still cannot get full strength, full bars on my network. I'm like, guys, like, make it make sense. Like, come on.
It's like back to back. It's like, okay, heads is this one, tails is this one, but yet you're both next to each other in the same spot. It's like, which one is it connected to?
Okay, let's do one thing. Let's stop this so the recording saves, and you can see if it was saved, uploaded everything from his device.
Okay, I'll do that. Let me stop right now.
A few moments later.
Yeah, it's okay. Now it looks good. Okay, so apologies for the sudden technical things, but weirdly enough, you would expect someone from up in the air to lose disconnections, but it seems our guest was on the move very fast. So we're back. You would think it was the starting that was the problem, but no, Khan just proved it.
Honestly, if you think about it, Starlink is the way to go. The mini Starlink pods, I just placed an order for one. I think I'll just keep it in my car, so anywhere I go, I'm not going to need any data connection. I'm just going to be connected to Starlink everywhere I go.
Okay, so going back to I think what we were discussing, Khan, I think it was you who asked the question and Shashank was answering it.
Yeah, I think it was mainly based on how the region will be focusing on this, especially taking everything into account, the long haul flights, and availability of SAF for everyone, or everyone fighting for SAF here and there. With that in mind, so we can close with that.
SAF in the Middle East is an important conundrum. Something that many airlines are looking to address, something that many governments are looking to address as well. I believe that it's not about the amount of SAF available today, but what's being done to build capacity in the region for SAF in the future. The Middle East is a global hub for oil already, so why should it not become the global hub for green energy as well? The transition from fossil to green energy is critical, especially so in aviation because it is hard to decarbonize. We have seen some very interesting efforts recently from Oman and green hydrogen to potentially SAF, to Saudi Arabia introducing a new or looking to introduce a new LCAF or low carbon aviation fuel standard, which then folds into the overall SAF standard. And I think it will be very interesting to see the approach of new fast growing airlines like Riyadh Air, with over 100 aircraft on order, how they look to address their Scope 1 emissions, because all of these planes that will be flying around will be flying on conventional jet fuel, conventional engines. So why not look to take a leader's position and look at including SAF in the mix as well.
And what do you think would be the next big step we see in sustainability, either in aviation or the region?
That's a very good question. The MENA region airlines have, in the last couple of decades, played a leadership role globally in aviation, from passenger experience to operations efficiencies. So why not lead the sustainability revolution as well? There is an opportunity here for an airline or a country or a group of airline airports and the country to play a catalyst role, almost like a crucible, where they can showcase globally what can be done for sustainability. And we don't just have to think about sustainability as environmental consciousness. This is about energy resilience. I might even use the word energy dominance, which I've heard in the US recently. So why not showcase to the world in a crucible where things are tried out, tested, and then showcased to the world on a small limited level. And then these airlines that try it, these airports that try these things, will be positioning themselves as global leaders. They are also first in the line to scale some of these efforts when they work out. And it can be everything from solar to SAF, using companies like Synhelion in Switzerland, for example, or looking at eSAF, or looking at beyond sustainable aviation fuel to new aircraft types like the Jet Zero blended wing aircraft. I would love to see a Middle East airline jump on board with United and Alaska and others who have ordered this aircraft. 50% fuel savings. So if it works, hey, it will be pretty cool to see a Jet Zero blended wing plane in an Emirates livery or a Qatar or a Saudia livery. In terms of taking leadership, we already see the UAE Airlines taking leadership. We also see Qatar Airways taking leadership from a passenger experience perspective. And I will not be surprised that it's not these market leaders, but someone like Saudia who comes from behind, or even Oman Air, and surprises us all with a bold new experiment in sustainability. I think that's the way to go, and I do wish them the best. I have high hopes from the region.
Very much. And I think we see a bit of this in India, for example, Kochi Airport, which is purely powered by solar energy. And this can just scale up from airport to airport, from services. And it just does not need to be, in my opinion, be an airline or be an airport. It could be the service providers anywhere in between. It could be individuals helping with innovation, or any helping service providers that can make it happen.
Another very good example is Dubai Airport, where the Dubai Airport, in my interview with their CEO Paul Griffiths, he shared how they are already powered by a lot of solar energy, and a lot of their waste management is going green. But the important thing is they are looking at SAF and expanding SAF from a consortium perspective. They're working with Emirates, Fly Dubai, the two major airlines that fly from Dubai International Airport, as well as others in the ecosystem like Danata, to ensure that in the future there will be SAF availability at Dubai Airport and beyond.
Yeah. And I think it should be in a beneficial way towards the environment, not in a beneficial way towards individual corporations where they try to make more money out of it.
Yeah.
I think that kind of sums up on how we look towards sustainability in a way. Well, we can keep an open thought of it. And
I want to sort of end with a final wrap-up question, I think, at least to sort of lead and wrap it up. So, in relation to basically both, airports and airlines, how or if you see a possibility, can both of them play a leadership role in sustainability, especially across the MENA region? And who do you think, in your opinion, in the MENA region, whether airport or airline or even both, could lead that?
The wild card here in the airport world in the Middle East for me would be the new Riyadh airport. KSIA has huge ambitions, 4 new runways, multiple new terminals, a brand new airline, Riyadh Air, of course, as the anchor tenant. But the airport seems visionary. In my conversations with the leadership at the airport, as well as with the Civil Aviation Authority, I've been very impressed by what they have been thinking and how they are rethinking. Because a brand new airport has opportunities that existing airports don't when it comes to sustainability. From rethinking how a new runway could be optimized for electric or hydrogen aircraft movements in the future, to incentivizing the use of SAF in landing fees. A new airport has opportunities, and if you combine the vision that the new Riyadh airport has, I think there's something here, and we should all be watching what Riyadh comes up with next.
Well, with that, we have sort of now come to, well, the end of this episode, even barring the technical difficulties as such. But of course, it's a testament to show that, when Khan is traveling as a fast moving target at 36,000 feet, he's been having reliable connectivity. But on the ground, ironically, we're still at the mercy of cell phone towers as such. Shashank, thank you very much for joining in. And just for everyone to know, Shashank's new book is already out, and that way you can even catch up more and maybe follow him on LinkedIn as well, because every day he tends to share a bit of an insight or two when it comes to the airline side of sustainability. Khan?
Yeah, no, honestly, thanks to Shashank for joining us, sharing an insight into what better ways we can find to make better improvements, not for ourselves but for the rest of the world and for the future generation to come 20 years down the line. This is the line that Shashank has said. I'm gonna definitely use it in my LinkedIn post when I post about this podcast, because it is very touching. It is the mindset that you need in the individuals when you're trying to do some things. Like, yes, it makes a difference. Like, a simple thank you goes a long way, as I say. So even having the thought will travel a long distance. We will look forward to get our hands on your books and probably get it signed by you someday. But until then,
Actually, we have it signed.
we have it. We have volume one.
Oh,
We have
volume
two.
1. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought I thought you gave us a sneak peek into your book. Okay, it's volume 1. Okay. Well, thank you, Shashank. And also, just to maybe end on a different note, as you can see, Khan is actually up in the air. So as he's few hours away from landing, I'll give you a little hint about our next episode as such, because, well, let's just say it's a continuation of where we started, except it's happening across the Atlantic. You know what? I think I'll let Khan tease it a bit.
I think no, it's the very first one in Northern America. It used to be something across Canada in Northern America also, but it is the first one, and then it hops up onto Lisbon next. So if you get an idea of what it is, we will share more about it in a couple of days. And again, thank you, Shashank. Thank you, Yasser. Lovely having you both from just somewhere over Alaska right now. I will see you guys on
Alaska?
ground somewhere soon. Yeah, just over Alaska. Kind
Oh.
of. All right. Thank
that's-
you guys, and keep listening to Geeky Nomads.
And subscribe and make sure you tell your friends. And of course, Shashank's book is already out there.